And welcome everybody Between Two Wheels podcast. Today's show, stage 16, Gruissan to Nimes, 188.6 kilometers. The last sprint of the 2024 Tour de France, Cav's last sprint ever in the Tour de France. The green jersey competition is starting to look real. Will GC riders have any mishaps, some wind perhaps? And did Tyler set his Tour de France fantasy team correctly? The answer is no. It's the 111th edition of the Tour de France, stage 16, coming at you right now, episode 358.
Massive number of people have been upgrading. Yes.
There you go. You see the graceful limb that you were talking about before.
The race we've got yet again, and a victor then goes victory to an American, Andy Hampton.
The felt to go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing?
Straight past Santiago Patero, and he's coming up to Pantani.
Armstrong is sitting in the last few hundred meters as we come towards the finish of this monumental stage. And
as we start to approach the line now, Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line.
Is going now to win stage number 15. Sepp Kuss, an emotional finish from Durango in the USA. Sepp Kuss wins.
Welcome everybody, Tyler Yonke here. Hope you had a good, what was it, yesterday? It was Monday. Good rest day at the tour. Hope you had a good rest day yourself. Hang on. Oh yeah, gotta have my coffee in the morning. It is stage 16, 188.6 kilometers. We expected a sprint. It's gonna be really the last sprint day. We talked about this before. It's gonna be the last sprint day of the tour. So we expect to be some sprinters teams not let anything get away. And by the way, I'm not gonna, there was a little bit of a breakaway, Total Energies rider out there. I'm not gonna even break that down. We're gonna go straight to about 2 kilometers to go. We're gonna look at how all that played out and then work our way from there. There's the thumbnail for today's stage. I do this before the actual finish. So I'm like, look, Van der Poel is wearing white. He's going to be doing something for Jasper. You just know it. Cav, it's his last chance. You've also got Biniam Girmay. You expect him to be raging bull in this situation. Hang on here. Let's see if we can get a better view of this. I don't know if we can. We'll just have to go there. So here's the GC going into the day. 3-minute lead for Pogacar. You don't expect anything to come about this for the GC riders. Jonas in 3:09, Remco at 5:19, and then boom, Almeida back there at 10:54, Landa 11:21, Rodriguez 11:27. And by the way, you've had tours like this in the past, which is dramatic differences in the winning difference. We're being kind of used to, at least Jonas and Pogacar. Yes, Pogacar killed everyone at the Giro, but for the most part, tours aren't. I mean, look back in the 80s, I think Steve Bauer was like in the top 5 or 10 or so, and he's like 20-some minutes out. It's crazy shit. So it's not new. Okay, let's look at the points here. Biniam Girmay, he's up 363 to 277. So it's been closing down to Jasper and Coquard at 147. That's going to play a part today. We're going to talk about that. There you go. There is Mathieu van der Poel, resplendent in his white, and we have Victor saying, "Hey, Tyler's live." Yes, I am. Asmera online channel said, "Hey, please, bro, about Binny." Yeah, well, we're going to talk about Binny a little bit here today. So hopefully, I mean, look, it's Binny Girmay. I'm hoping he wins the green jersey, but I'm also looking for good competition. Today is not what we looked to wanted to have happen, but we'll talk about that. Field's up there. They're doing their thing for the day. Mark Cavendish, he's getting his chance. Everyone's like, yeah, Cav. Here's the stage today, and it does bode well for sprinters. There's this intermediate sprint here in the middle. There's a Cat 4, and there's a little bit of some lumps, but it really should be controlled. As long as the wind isn't an issue, as long as you don't have too much, breakaway that's going to, and the team still want to control it. Alpecin definitely wants to control this thing, so you expect to have a sprint today, and that's exactly what we did. Now, there's the route you have going up kind of the coast. I think they're coming into the Med. Is that right? Over by getting closer to France. I mean, they're in France, but I mean Nice. And we're going to have all this action. Okay, 2.1 kilometers to go. Now, you had like a bunch of roundabouts coming in here. When you have this traffic furniture, it's always a problem. It's always going to be an issue for which teams are up there. And now you've got them running full wide, and that is going to enhance this when you start coming into these things. Brian Sivney says, Cav hasn't been anywhere close in any sprint except the one he won. Lucky man. Absolutely, and this is Brian. This is a great point, and this is what I've been very impressed about with Jasper Philipsen getting 3 wins. But he's also got a bunch of top 6 places, top 3 places. We could maybe go break those down. And then he was relegated on one as well. He's always up there. And remember, it wasn't even the Cav one. He couldn't come past him. He got, second on that day. But there was other ones there where he's sprinting from maybe 10 back, trying to get himself up there. I think that was the one he got 6th place. So you may not like Jasper as far as he's kind of the disaster, but God, he really puts the effort in to try to being up there in all the sprints and does give it everything. He doesn't give up. Today, look at this. You got Cav's team, Astana, who just signed up with, I guess, some Chinese team's going to come on board for 5 years, so we're probably going to see a real step up in that team as far as trying to sign some people. It'll be interesting. Lotto Destiny's up there. I expected Dali to be getting a win. I know Brian sent me a message. He expected that as well. One of the best teams going here which is interesting. Uno X has one of the better lead-out teams of this tour. We've seen that over and over again. Yet they have one of the not-so-best sprinters. Now, it's Christoph, who's won a bunch. The dude is long-time racer, long-time champion, but he's not up to the status that he once was. He doesn't have the power he once was. But imagine if Cavendish had this lead-out team. Cav might have won another 2 races here at this tour. I mean, they are putting Christoph in the absolute best positions possible for this team. This low-budget team, this know-nothing team is doing such a great job. Dali, if he has this team, he's probably going to win something. Ackerman, if he has this, he might have been able to get it. And once again, if they had Philipsen, they would be doing just as good as Alpecin. So I've been really impressed with him. 2 kilometers to go. Uno X is there, and they're taking the leads around these roundabouts, which is important. Today, what we actually saw, and which has been a problem, is Biniam Girmay has been able to just kind of sit back. Now, his team has done some good work, and they're getting up. But this today was very important for being around up in front on these roundabouts. You're going to see this one here especially. 1.7 to go. They come around this. They go a left, and then they start doing this right-hand turn. And I just kind of want to go back here. I don't know that do I have it? Nope, I don't have it here. I wanted to show, you could go back here up just a little. You see this Astana rider coming out behind this Lotto Destiny rider here. He goes really wide. You can start to see him going, there you go. I guess I do have it there. He goes really wide here. And then guys are coming in, but then once he's really wide, he's got to come crashing back in for this pinch point, which they do. And then you see exactly on there's a wreck down there on the road. There's some EF riders down. Sean Quinn comes up, but then Biniam Girmay is there as well, and that is his day done for any chance to get up into the sprint, any chance for him to get points jerseys. Points for the green jersey, which is then it's all on Philipsen. This has been the problem, which is Philipsen's got some wins, but Biniam is right there. Biniam gets some wins, but Jasper's right there. And so, except for the one that was the disqualification, the relegation. But for that, it's even tighter. So this is now a day, and I think Biniam got the intermediate sprint points too. I think he got 14 there, so he moved up a bit over Jasper on the intermediate. But now you've got a situation where Jasper is just like, how many points can I get here? Complete to the finish. Biniam's down. There you go. So 1 kilometer to go. Uno X is still in the front, and they are fighting through these roundabouts with right on the wheel. Now Uno X is up there, and a few places back is Christoph. But then you have at least one rider, and then you have Matthew van der Poel, and then you have Philipsen. And then what's great is that white jersey you're able to pick him out. I don't know if this is the intent, but let me just tell you what I think here personally, which is when you used to do sprinting, what I like to do is have your helmet just a little bit different so you can always find your teammates. It's kind of important. You see them up front. I actually would put a little bit of colored tape on the back of my white helmet just so you could differentiate me. And it was important because I was a lead out rider, so I would be leading out the sprints. And so it was a really good way for you to always make sure my guy is finding me very easily, which just, you can, we're in huge fields, but it's just one more aspect. I don't know if that's the reason why he's wearing all white today, Mathieu van der Poel, other than it's crazy looking World Championships jersey and kit. But it's got to be a help for Jasper Philipsen to just go, I'm always on the white guy. I'm always on the white guy, white jersey. I mean, he's a white guy as well. But anyway, I think that's maybe a help there. So anyway, they're coming down here inside the last kilometer. The Uno X rider is still in the front. I wanted to point this out and stretch this thing out because you can see Cavendish is a ways back here. I think there was one up here I wanted to look at a little bit earlier where it was before the wreck, perhaps. No, let's keep going. These teams are always looking back, kind of like, where's my guy? Where's my guy at? And that's what they're continually doing here. Cavendish is way down the line. You start to see a split here from Christoph up to Philipsen and Bauhaus, who's on Bahrain team. These other riders are kind of like sporadic in here. Here you go. Now you see Astana riders. They're trying to lead out Cav. Cav's back their ways. He's nowhere to be seen. Christoph, at least he's got a guy on the front. He's got a guy just behind Bauhaus, and then that rider's looking back as well. It's not always the safest thing to be doing, but behind this Astana rider, you also have Wout. You can see him in his Red Bull helmet. Then you have Israel Primertech. Ackerman's up there, but he's back there a ways as well. Now, granted, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4, 5 riders in front of Wout that are just for lead out. That's all they are doing. They're going to be peeling off, maybe even 6. I don't know if the decathlon rider is as well. Now you see the Lotto rider is looking over. He's like, where's our Deli? Well, Deli's back their ways. You got EF kind of up in the mix. Intermarché Wanty, sorry. They've got a guy up there, but in here, you've still got Uno X doing a great lead out. They still got, I think, another roundabout they've got to come through. Then you have Alpecin ready to take over here. They do take over. One more rider here. I don't know if it's Dillier takes over before Mathieu van der Poel is going to kick real hard. But they have this last little roundabout to do. Comes through here. This is also an interesting part where the Alpecin rider peels off, but then that's where the squeeze is also going to go. So he's got to get out of the way. Mathieu van der Poel hits this roundabout, this last roundabout. They come through it. They hit it about 400 meters to go. They come out of it at about 300 to go. So it was about 100 meters in that section. They then still bend just a bit before they're able to see the line, which I think starts to appear around 200 to go. This is the perfect points to, if you're going to tell your riders, we're hitting this thing about 400. We're going to start sprinting there for Mathieu van der Poel. He's going to come through this thing, start sprinting out of it. When you start to see the line appear around 200, hit it, Philipsen. And he does. He hits hard. It's a clean out he does. And immediately the Uno X rider is drifting out. That's just a lead out for Christoph. He's done. Bauhaus tries to jump up there. Mathieu van der Poel does a big swing over to his right to get out of the way, which I understand. He's trying to get out there. It doesn't impede anybody. It is just a big move that if the guys are coming up there, like you can see Wout here. Wout trying to come up here. Gibbons, I think that's for a little trek. He's trying to go on the far outside, which is almost blocking his way is Ackerman of Israel Primertech, but you have Philipsen, Bauhaus, Christoph, Sam Bennett, and I'm not sure who's right behind Sam Bennett, and maybe Coquard, and yeah, Coquard's getting screened out. It's an easy kick, though, for Philipsen. He takes it all the way to the line over Bauhaus, Christoph. Wout tries to make his move up there. Ackerman's coming on the outside. You can see the fist pump in the white over there from Mathieu van der Poel. He's very happy about that. Red Bull actually tries to get someone up there in the mix. Gaviria sits up. Intermarché sits up. Coquard gets tucked in right behind. And as we draft this thing a bit forward, you can see finally back there in the distance, let's go back one here, Astana rider way back there, which just coming over the line about 18th or so place, Mark Cavendish. I don't know. I mean, your team was trying to do what they could for you. It is an interesting part that you just can't get around him. Would have been fun having Jonathan Milan in the Tour and Merlier. Now, we saw that in the Giro, and that was pretty bad. Cav is the only Astana rider with a black-white helmet. Yeah, so there's the interesting part about that, which is, okay, fine, they can find him, but Cav isn't finding his guys. That's been a problem this whole time. Remember, when this one stage he did win, Michael Moorcock, his lead-out rider, said, hey, I didn't even get a chance to do it. I didn't get a chance to even help him out this race. Biniam Girmay does come across the line with his team kind of gingerly. Saw him at the finish. He was beat up here a bit, but I think he's at least hopeful about being able to go. So we hope for his case that is true, that he's able to continue on just fine. Remember, a few years ago, Biniam Girmay wins a stage at the Giro. I'm trying to remember if he was going into yellow that day as well. He was very pink. He was very close to it. He opens the bottle of champagne. Cork hits him in the eye. He can't even go the next day. So, Biniam, you've had a great run here. I hope you're not, because it's going to be difficult. Jasper Philipsen talked about the sprints coming up, how good Biniam has been climbing, and now you have basically just the intermediate sprints, and Philipsen's going to have to treat those like stage finishes as much as he can to try to get in the points. And we'll look at that. There you go. Philipsen with the win over Bauhaus, easily wins. Kristoff in third place. By the way, this Uno X rider, Alexander Kristoff, gets a third place finish for Norway and his team, all due to his lead out. You saw there coming up at the end when Philipsen is kicking. Right behind him, he has to surpass still a lead out rider for Kristoff. Kristoff still has a guy in the lead. Amazing work by this small team, and Kristoff is only getting that third place, I think, because of his extremely well placed. He's able to hold his position on the sprint. Great rider. All the kudos to him. Very impressive. Sam Bennett gets a fourth place. Wout comes up there in fifth. Pascal Ackermann drifts a bit into sixth. Didn't quite have it. He tried to kick on the far outside. Brian Coquard in seventh. Soren Wernerskold for Uno X comes in there at eighth. He was the lead-out rider. Ryden Gibbons for Little Trek. Danny Van Poppel for Red Bull Bora. Stefan Bissinger for EF. EF went down, and I think it was Vandenberg went down, so they didn't get their sprinter up there, but Bissinger did the best he could since the team had already unloaded it, and a few of them went down. Matthew Van Der Poel comes in across that fifth with pump in his fist. Mike Tunisen for Intermarché Wanty. Gaviria sat up at 14th. By the way, this is the first I've really seen Gaviria up in the sprints and just said, nope, I'm not doing it. Groenewegen way down there. Was this? I can't see the numbers here. 15th, 16th, 17th for Cavendish, 18th for DeMar, 19th for Groenewegen, and 20th for Degenkolb. A bit disappointing for those guys. Here's the GC. No change in the GC. 334 to 544 for Remco and et al. Girmay. You have Biniam 376 to now Philipsen's 344. You are down to, 32 points now between the two of them. Very tight. Coquard, no chance. No one else is having a chance here. Maybe Tadej in the next few days, but you're not gonna see. I didn't even see Deli in that top. Let's take a look here. Deli, is he even in that top? No. What happened to him? I don't know. Wow, good job for him. I did not set my fantasy team. You're supposed to select, hey, you get a chance to say, pick a rider that you think is going to win, and you get double points. And I forgot to I had a rest day to do this. And of course I was going to pick Philipsen, and then I didn't even do that. So it's still Tadej. About Binny. Well, what do we want to say more about Binny? I think he's okay. He talked on the report there. He was able to ride his bike into the finish. He looked a little ginger. He went down hard into that barrier. I think he's going to be fine. I think there's a very good chance, and we're going to take a look here at sprint points coming up and what are the options. All he has to do is be right there with, or perhaps win one of these sprints, the intermediate sprints the next few days, and he should be just fine. Here comes stage 17. This sprint spot, intermediate sprint, there's a little bit of climb. Maybe Intermarché will do what they can to try to kick out Jasper Philipsen up this little uphill, and so it's just diminished, so then Biniam can get that. You might see Intermarché trying to control the brake. There's going to be a few things. One is the brake goes up the road, and we don't want anything to do with this. We want all the points gone, or we're going to control it so we get the maximum points. That might be a little bit more risky, but it might be something that Intermarché has to do. Okay, let's. I want to take a look here at some of these other sprints, intermediate sprints. We could talk about Biniam a tad bit more. That's stage 16. Let's go to the results. There we go. Okay, that's today's stage. Tomorrow's stage, we just talked about that. That's the sprints you have here at 115 kilometers into the stage. And like I said, there's a tad bit of an uphill, but I think Jasper will be motivated. So you're going to have a good sprint off there. Stage 18 coming up the next day. You've got an intermediate sprint after 2 Cat 3s. This is going to be the one I think Biniam can put it down and kind of put it all away, is to maybe get up in the break or get up. It'll be interesting to see, because you've seen Jasper. He's no slouch. He does the classics and whatnot. He might be trying to get up and over these Cat 3s, like maybe in the break, and see what happens. But then you've got this sprint here, and let's see if they show the points that are available on the day for the sprint. Okay, so 20 points available. So if you get, as an example, you get Jasper Philipsen up there. There's only a 30-point difference, and you got the previous day as well. You got 20 points. I mean, you get one of the guys that gets this. It could start being somewhat detrimental to. And personally, I hope they bring it in a little closer. That's 18. Then you got stage 19. There's a sprint here before they hit the climbs. That will be on. That will be exciting here. Just a few kilometers, about 20 kilometers into the stage. For 19, stage 20, Saturday, you're going to have a sprint way out here. I doubt either one of them are going to get to that. You might get, Biniam would have to get up and over this Cat 2 and a Cat 3 before the one and the H, and the final one of the Col de Caillou. Good luck there, and nothing to do on the last one. So let's take a look at just tomorrow's stage. So I want to look at. I know we looked at the profile a little bit here, but as far as the predictions go for the overall, you've got a Cat 1 and then a Cat 3. So this Cat 2 here. This is a made for breakaway day. The GC riders should be like saying, "Look, we're a little worried about what's coming up here. I'm going to just maybe hold back and see what we can have, with this finish, and for the next few days for the GC riders." So I'm totally predicting a breakaway day. You're going to see EF. This is really their only chance left here. You got to see EF trying to get up in this breakaway to see what they can do. You're going to get maybe Menkes up there for Intermarché. Carapaz, Nilsson Palace, you don't really see, he tried to get away on stage 8 and then the gravel, and then he had to do work for Healy. So you still have Healy in the mix. Who knows who it's going to be. Perhaps Vandenbroek, who we saw on stage 1 for DSM. Okay, here's some rumor stuff. Brian says, I heard there was a scuffle between TJ and Bob Roll. TJ insulted Bob. Then Bob dropped the F-bomb and then apologized. What? Since I don't watch Peacock, I missed it. Those two guys have been going back and forth this whole time, and I'll tell you this: I have not been super impressed with some of TJ's. If you followed him along as a DS when he's in the car, I think EF does some really just stupid stuff. As Chris Horner would say, knucklehead stuff. Okay, they don't do necessarily great DS work, and having him on the podcast, I'm not impressed. I'm very impressed with Brent Bookwalter. I'm not impressed either with Bob Roll, but yet Bob seems to have better arguments. I talked about this the other day, which is, I'm trying to remember what it was with TJ, was you don't do this simply because you need to garner goodwill in the caravan. In the peloton, talking about Pogacar winning a bunch, and that was his sole reason for, I don't remember what the whole issue was, but Bob's had a much. It's been weird that Bob is doing a better job of his debate skills in a sense. And he's no dummy, but it's just, there it is. So I don't know what's going on with this one, but those two have been going back and forth. Dropping the F-bomb, that's great. On live television, that's superb. I got to find the clip. Someone has got to send me this clip so I can play this. Let me give you a breakdown real quick of some of the podcasts I've been listening to try to, just enjoy this, because it's what I do. Escape Collective, they've got a group of guys that are doing it. Casey Fretz. Then they have also How the Race Was Won. Those two guys have been doing pretty good. So check out Escape Collective. You've also got Cycling Podcasts. It's not your typical Daniel Free. Remember, Richard died a few years ago. So those guys aren't doing it. They brought in a different group of guys. They're okay. I'm okay with it. There's a bunch of other things out there. There's also, and it just reminded me, and maybe I'll try to get this done as well, Cavendish. It has to do with Cavendish. We'll talk about that in a tad bit. But the Move podcast, which is always just unbearable. I checked it out again the other day, a week or so ago, And the first 8 minutes, it was 7 minutes and 45 was all commercials. And you're just like, I get it. You're trying to sell products, but the whole podcast is only 40. And then you've got more ads in the middle. I've complained about this over and over because it's just unbearable. Fine. I get it. You got to make money. That's perfectly fine. However, they had Sir Bradley Wiggins come on the podcast, and he's been sitting there in the studio, and it's been enjoyable. But what it shows more than anything is how bad Lance is, and some of these other guys, that just their knowledge of the sport, it blows me away. Lance Armstrong, there were 7 Tour de France's that you got to go up on the podium. You don't know your history very much, especially in comparison to Brad Wiggins. Bradley Wiggins knows a ton, and it's been somewhat enjoyable, but I think he's only been on there a little bit. So it's been good and bad at the same time, a little frustrating. And then you got this. Okay, there was a few days ago in the wind, Cavendish talked about how the same stage back in, I think, 2013, how his team, Quick Step at the time, just blew the shit out of this thing. They blew it up, they destroyed it, and then Cav ends up winning, and he's talking about this. And then, but if you rewind and you actually watch the video and his interview at the race, it's like, yeah, his team went to the front, they did a few things, and then he's like, we couldn't break it up. And then Saxo Bank comes to the front. Saxo Bank lit this thing on fire. They destroyed this field. It was only like 13 people. Cav got in there with one of his teammates, and he ends up winning the stage, but they drilled it. It was amazing to see what Saxo did. Yes, Quick Step started it. Anyway, so what's interesting is to hear his talk about it now, and that's been, 11 years or so, and then to see the actual his interview at the time and the footage of it. And I had clips of it. I was going to mash it together and play it, but maybe we'll do it another time. Okay, I'm so interested about this Bob Roll issue, so if someone could send that to me, that would be great. Tomorrow's stage, I'm hoping EF can get up there finally and get a win, but we'll see. Biniam Girmay still predicting he's going to end up with the green jersey. Philipsen actually said some great things about Biniam today afterwards, and I thought that was good. Maybe Philipsen is trying to rehabilitate his image just a tad bit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I think he should be trying to do that, be a little bit more magnanimous and not be such a dick, because a lot of guys do seem to hate him. But a lot of it is due to his riding. Trying to think, Ackerman was saying the other day that he got clipped over by him. It wasn't in the final sprint, but it was early on and really had some problems. Victor says, thanks for live streaming. Yes, thanks everybody. Hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be in here tomorrow. Let me double check my schedule. Let's see what I can do tomorrow. Perfect. Let's try 9:30 p.m. a.m. Pacific. It's at 12:30 Eastern. I don't know what it is. Where out there where you guys live, if it's some other foreign country. Till next time, Tour de France. Who's going to win tomorrow? Chris Froome?
Froome now, he goes on the offensive, he goes on the attack over the top of this final climb, and nobody at the moment can go with him.
He had 75 kilometres to go, and now under the Flamme Rouge, and there he is still, the virtual Malia Rosa on the road. Who would have thought it at the start of today? But Chris Froome, masterful performance, takes the win on top of the Jafra. Tell me that you love me so. Tell me